So I bet you didn't think we'd be starting a crafting video outside, did you? Well, we're going to be searching for some natural elements to make some winter crafts. So let's go get to searching. Now this is our wooded section, we call it. It's very small, but as you can see, we have lots of mature Douglas fir trees in here, and we are going to be searching for some sticks. And as you can see, there is no shortage of sticks. We have all kinds around here. So let's get some of these into our basket. All right, we've got some sticks. Now let's go see what else we can find. I think we'll get some of this lamb's ear. Even though it's very wet, we can harvest some of these leaves and then let them dry out. And I also think we will grab some of these sprigs of rosemary. So today's video is part of the 'Tis This Season collaboration hosted by Brenda over at Rustic and Lace DIY, and the guest host is FidgetDiys. Both of the links to their channels will be down in the description, as well as the playlist that includes all of the other creators that are participating in this challenge. So please be sure you go down into the description once this video is over, click on that link, and enjoy some crafts by a bunch of other great creators. Now our first craft today is going to start with this piece of wood. We are going to make a fun little tree, and I just want to take some of my white paint. This is just regular white acrylic crafting paint, and I'm just going to lightly brush it over the top of this board. And what I'm just trying to do is give it a very light, kind of snowy feel. Now I am using this instead of chalk paint simply because I don't have chalk paint, but either one would work just fine. And it doesn't matter some of the large streaks because some of the project is going to cover that up. But now I am just dotting it to make it kind of look like some snowfall happening on the wood. And once that dries, we are going to get started with our lamb's ear. Now at the beginning of the video, you saw that I was going to harvest this. Now the best way to do this is if you harvest it and it's still damp, let it completely dry. I let it dry for about 2 days. That way there is not a whole lot of moisture content left in these leaves, but they're still pliable enough to work with without cracking or breaking, especially if you're trying to bend them in any kind of shape or form. So what I'm going to do is just kind of eyeball how many leaves I want to put across the bottom for the effect that I'm going for. And I want to stretch this out side to side as much as possible on this board. So once I have my layout, I'm going to flip my leaves over. And then I'm just going to take some of this tacky glue that I got at the Dollar Tree. I need to really upgrade my glue, but this actually worked super well. This was super thick glue. It was kind of on the cooler side, and it went on nice and thick and was pretty easy to paint. You just do have to be kind of delicate with these because you can tear them if you push too hard with the paintbrush on the glue. So what I'm going to do is just get some on the back of each one of these leaves. And I'm doing my side ones first because I want to overlap each leaf slightly as I'm working my way in towards the center. And I'm just going to continue doing this until I get all of my bottom ones on. And there I have my base row of my tree. And so I'm just going to kind of repeat this whole process. I'm going to lay out how many I think I want on each row to give it the effect that I want, and just get them glued down. And if you've never used lamb's ear before, it is so soft. Some of the medicinal purposes of it have been used for wound care, and these were even said to be used as band-aids back in the day. And I can see why, they're very soft. So here we are, we're at the top of our tree now, and we have this really pretty drapey effect going all the way down the tree. And I picked up some of these wooden stars off of, I believe it was Joann Fabrics back when they were open, and they're just plain wood. So I wanted to kind of tone that down since the theme of this video is kind of rustic things from nature. So I used some of my Waverly Antique wax, and I got it all colored there, and I'm just going to give it a nice generous dab of hot glue, and I'm going to glue that onto the top of my tree. Now I have this Merry Christmas ribbon and I just love it, and so I put a decorative cut on each end of it, and I'm going to put some hot glue on here. Now I'm just going to be very gentle because this ribbon is porous. It's kind of like a burlap feel, and I didn't want any of that glue coming through onto the other side. So this is actually a very, very thin layer of glue. And if you wanted to just have this be winter decor and you don't really want it to say Merry Christmas, obviously you can just omit the ribbon and leave the tree as it is because it's totally precious. I just thought I would add this Merry Christmas ribbon on there since we're still about a month before Christmas with this video. And I have a bunch of these picture hangers, and I put a little bit of E6000 on the back of it and then held it down with some hot glue, and this is what it ended up looking like. It is so sweet, and if you have grandkids or young kids in the house who are gentle enough, they probably will enjoy touching this tree because it is so soft. So let me know what you think of this one down in the comments. Now moving on to craft number 2, I am going to make some little balls wrapped with the lamb's ear, and I just got this 3-pack at the dollar store. They're fairly small. You can do these in any size that you want, but again, just be sure that when you use the lamb's ear, it's had a chance to dry for a couple of days and they're not over dry, because especially on a ball like this, when you're going to be forming them to fit the shape of the ball, if they are on the drier side, they can crack. I have to admit, a few of the leaves here I had harvested at different times, and a few of them were a little too on the dry side, and as you will see coming up here, I actually ripped one of them when I was trying to get the glue on there, but thankfully we got it fixed. So this is going to be very, very similar to the last project that we made. We're just going to put the tacky glue on the back, and then we're going to start gluing it onto the ball. Now the first round that I do on the ball, I do in a line and I overlap each one. And because this is an instant sticking glue, you do have to, while you are working on this whole project, just kind of work your hands over the whole ball periodically, just to be sure that the leaves are sticking down where you want them to be. Now I'm finishing up my first row, and I am overlapping the beginning and the end with the last one. And again, just giving it a light, gentle squeeze to make sure all that glue is adhering to the ball. Now, if you have a different type of faster drying glue, you could definitely use that too. I wanted to stay away from super glue because I didn't want to get any on my fingers, and sometimes it doesn't work so well on styrofoam. Hot glue, if you're very gentle, you can use it on the styrofoam, I have found, but it can also melt it as well. So now I'm just going to fill in the gaps on each side of that first circle. And the process is similar. You're just going to overlap each piece slightly so that you have full coverage on your ball. And I just kind of take each one and measure to make sure that I have enough width. You don't have to have just one piece covering up the whole section. You could overlap 2, and I have done that on a few of these. Sorry, I'm off camera there just a little bit. I get so in-depth in my crafting that sometimes I forget how close I'm putting it to myself and not getting it completely under the camera. But you can see how I'm still just kind of gently squeezing the lamb's ears down so that I make sure that the glue is all sticking. And now I'm getting down to my last little pieces here. And we have a completely covered ball. And that just looks so cute. It just looks cute and earthy and woodsy. I love it. And here's what they look like when they're all finished. Now you can display them on a little tray like this. You can also add little hangers to them if you wanted them to hang from somewhere. They're really cute on Christmas trees as ornaments, but I'm just choosing to put these on my little dish. So let me know what you think. So on to craft number 3. I have these awesome old coffee cans. My dad saved all of his coffee cans for his shop for trinkets and things. And I thought, what better way to kind of honor him than use some of these coffee cans this Christmas since he's no longer with us. So I'm going to first use this smaller Folgers one. It's nice and clean inside, and I'm just going to take a jar with some water. It's just a regular old canning jar, and fit that down inside. And then I'm just simply going to put some of these stems in there. Now, I've had these in water to keep them fresh, but you see how I stripped all of the greenery off the bottom? You definitely want to do that to keep it from molding inside of the vase while you're displaying these. And rosemary, actually, if you didn't know, it can take quite a long time, but if you keep the conditions right, it will actually root in water for you over some time. Now, this is just some fill that was in the top of a pill bottle, but it's so fluffy and cute. I just saved it, and I thought I would use this kind of as a snow layer around the top. You can completely omit this if you just want it to look completely natural, but I'm just gonna put a little bit of this on the top here. Get it tucked down in there. And that is how this one looks. I think it's very sweet and very simple, and you could definitely use this year round if you wanted to, like on a coffee bar or just a winter theme. It could look like a little mini Christmas tree just sitting in your coffee can. So next craft that we're going to do is very similar, but this U-band can, I thought, you know what, I just want to dress this one up since it doesn't really have that Christmassy feel to it. So I'm taking some wrapping paper and I'm going to crease with my fingernail right underneath that upper rim so that I know where I need to cut my paper. And you can see here the rim that it formed when I did that, and I'm just going to cut along this line until I have it all cut out. And then I am going to line it up onto my can. Now, because I might want to use this can for something different and I don't want to mess it up with glue, I was going to use some of my double-sided sticky tape, which I could not find. But I decided instead I would just use regular Scotch tape and form it into those little loops like you do a lot of times when you're adhering a bow to a present or something, and just put it on that way. So I'm going to wrap these into their little circles, and then on the very base I will stick it on the coffee can. And at first I did two, but then I did change my mind and I put one more in the center just to make sure that I had full coverage here on my adhesion. Now, if I had found my double-sided sticky tape, I would have probably just put one solid strip from top to bottom there, but this worked just fine. And once I get it on there, I'm going to roll up the other side. And I'm going to do the same thing, but before I do that, I think I just want a little bit of a finished look, so I am just going to take and very gently put a tiny little fold in it like you would on a Christmas present. Again, have that little finished edge, and then I will go ahead and tape this into place. Let me know down in the comments, do you make these little circle tapes to stick stuff together too? I've done it since I was little, once my mom taught me how to do it. All right, so now I'm just going to get this pulled taut and tacked down on there. And this will be the back side, so you won't ever see that. Now I'm just going to take the lid so it stays with the container, and since it's a gold tone, I'm just going to put that on the bottom of the coffee can. And that gives it a little bit of an extra decorative piece to it. And much like we did with the first can, this one is nice and clean. And I'm just going to take a little bit larger of a vase since this is the larger size can, and I'm going to stick that down inside again. I'm going to take my bigger pieces of rosemary here, and I'm just going to stack them in here. Not trying to be too fancy on this, but for those of you who don't know, on my channel I also do a lot of gardening things. I have a flower and vegetable farm, and I grow everything from seed, and I take you through that process with me, how to start seeds, what I'm starting, growing them, putting them out in the field, taking cuttings and rooting cuttings, all kinds of great things like that, as well as showing some of our farm animals. So if you're interested in that, we'd love to have you subscribe. But I will probably leave some of this rosemary in here and try to let it root to get a few more plants going. So that's when that one looks. So that is what that one looks like. Very simple. And I thought I would put a little bow on there, but again, because we're kind of doing natural style crafts, I wanted to keep this very earthy. So I'm just going to take some of my jute twine and I'm just going to wind it back and forth into little loops until I get a small sized bow made. And then I just take the string and I wrap it around a few times to kind of give that little center effect. And then I'm just going to tie the two end pieces together in a knot to hold it into place. Just like that. little loops just a little bit. Now this is florist wire, and again, I just have a big box of this. You could use a pipe cleaner if you wanted to, but because I do a lot of flower arrangements and things like that, I, again, like I said, have a whole bunch of these, and I just tend to use them anytime I need to kind of tuck a bow down inside a container so it doesn't just flop out. So let's slip that down inside of there. And now I like the look of this natural, but I did want to glam it up just a little bit. So I have some of these picks that I've had forever. I think I got these in a bundle pack at the Goodwill a long time ago. Has a little bit of gold, and it has that burgundy color that kind of matches the paper. So I thought I would set that down inside of there to give it a little bit of pizzazz. And if you like the smell of rosemary, it's really good. If you don't bump it, you don't smell it so much, but if you just lightly brush it, you get that lovely smell. So let me know what you think of this. Okay, and lastly, we are going to take some of these sticks that we got in the beginning of the video. They've been sitting by my fireplace drying out. I'm probably not going to use all of these for the craft, but I just gathered the ones that were the size that I wanted, and we are going to make another version of a rustic tree with these sticks. So now I cut my sizes how I wanted them to be for the frame of the tree, and we're just going to take some hot glue and we're going to tack that together. And now if we just used hot glue, that wouldn't stay. I'm going to wrap all of the joints with the jute twine so that there is more stability in there, and I will glue it a couple of times while I'm winding it. So you can see the top there, how it's all secured with the jute twine. Now I did glue the bottom of the tree as well, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to secure those by wrapping the jute twine around them as well. And that's going to kind of be the theme with this tree, is every time we have a glued joint with a piece of the stick, we are going to wrap it with the jute twine and glue it down to give it some stability. Now I'm going to put my center stick of the tree down, and in hindsight, I was going to glue this so that there's a little bit of a bow in this stick, and I wanted it to kind of go off to the side, and instead I had it going straight up, which kind of made the cross pieces of the tree a little more difficult, but by the time I got them glued down and got the twine wrapped on them, it worked out just fine. So it all worked out in the end. But we're going to glue the center one down, and once the glue has adhered enough, I'm going to again take the twine and wrap that around. And now I'm going to do my side pieces. I just put a dollop of glue on each of the pieces of the stick that it needs to adhere to. Hold it down until it's tacked there, and then we'll wrap it with twine. And we're just going to repeat this whole process up the tree. Now let me know down in the comments, do you guys like to make crafts with natural things? I've done a lot of crafting with pine cones and things like that in the past. And I have no shortage of pine cones or sticks or all kinds of fun things around here to craft with. So I thought it would be fun to do that for this video, just kind of mostly things that I can get out in nature. I also can't wait till my granddaughter is old enough where she can do crafts like this with me. She's 3.5, so we can do crafts, but just not things quite this detailed. But we're just going to keep going on this process. I'm not going to bore you with the whole thing, but just kind of wanted to give you an idea. You just kind of do that crisscross effect with each one of the joints. And if I didn't do this, it would definitely come apart. I know some people like to drill each individual little piece and maybe screw it in place or tack it in place with a nail, but I just kind of wanted to do it as simple as possible because most people don't have drills, or it's really tedious drilling those little bits of tiny holes. But here's a time lapse of me just finishing up wrapping the twine around each one of the joints to get it all secured. And by the time I get to the top, I'm telling you, just leaving it like this would have been really cute because the effect is just very simple. But I have these greenery picks that I got at Hobby Lobby that look like little sprigs of greenery. And I'm going to cut one down to size to fit in between each one of those little gaps there, just to kind of fill it in and give it more of a Christmas tree look or an evergreen look. And once I get those all cut to size, I'm going to then glue them all into place. And again, I have another one of those wooden stars that I got from Joann's. I'm going to put some of my Waverly Antique Wax on there just to give it a little more natural feel. Position it, make sure I like how it looks on the top of my tree. Give it a generous dollop of hot glue. Get that stuck on there, and then I wanted to make this a hanging tree, so I'm going to just put a little dab of glue on each side of the top of the tree. I'm going to take some more of my jute twine, and I just made a little hanger, very simple, and this is not very heavy at all, so this jute twine was enough. And here is what it looks like when it's done. Very simple, very cute. Again, let me know what you thought down in the comments. Is this something you'd like to make or something you think you could make? Never know till you try, right? So here's a wrap up of all the crafts we made today. Again, let me know down in the comments, what one was your favorite? Do you have any of these materials on your property that you could make any of these? Just wanted to say thanks for hanging out with me today. I'll see you next time.